Joseph says, the problem is not the recapitulation. It is done during and after. It's like the capital R, reading is to reading. Yes, yes. But still, I'm making the point, Joseph, that we have a sort of a societal idea of what therapy is. And therapy is, for most people, talking about their problems. And that's counterproductive. When you understand emphasis and understand how our brains work, psychology, it's neurology. This is something I always understood since I was a kid, which is why I so objected to it. And I came up with positive psychology because I just paid attention and I understood this. But this was not something that was scientifically proven. It was just from observation, I could see it. But only in relatively recent years, like I think maybe within the last 10 years or so, or even less maybe, was this neurologically proven that the nodes in the brain and the wiring, it actually grows and expands because of emphasis, right? Emphasis rewires the brain. And they proved it neurologically. So yes, it's what's done after. But again, Joseph, what I'm sharing is a very, very sophisticated approach to psychology. And you look at the conventional, I am sharing a methodology that works so much better. Instead of starting with a recapitulation of your problems, no, start with a replacement. Get to the recapitulation of your issues, your problems, your trauma later. Once you've got the basis, the tools in place, the tools of perspective shifting to multiple perspectives, the tools of power pause, the tools of discernment, awareness, understanding, the tools of thinking things through to the end, the tools of looking at things from an overview perspective so that you don't get immersed in the feeling of the trauma, the tools of mood management so that you can be able to say, oh, that was then, this is now. The tools of association management, which is absolutely crucial for letting go of trauma. If you just tell your story, you can be aggravating the issue. You have to be very careful because you can entrench beliefs, you can entrench attitudes, you can entrench mindset. Yes, the intensity of the trauma can lessen through repetition and familiarization, right? But it doesn't mean it goes away. You always have it there. And some people get stuck and they can't get out of it because of this. They understand exactly why, because they've shared it, they've talked about it, but they don't have a replacement. And they don't have the tools to be able to process their trauma appropriately. That's why way of impeccability is so crucial. When you have this, it's not only tools for living, yeah, and tools for deliberate living, but of course, one of the things or part of the is to learn to deal with not just trauma, but stress and hassle and problem, right? And not see it as that, but to shift your entire mindset and perspective, where you're starting to see the moreness involved. And when you start to realize that there is moreness that you didn't even know, believe, think, are aware that the moreness actually was even there. When you develop that ability to find and connect to the moreness that is there, that you never knew was there, changes everything, changes everything. So I'm just saying that, we have to be very, very cautious of the traditional therapy model of just, this recapitulation model, going through the trauma, going over it all. And this needs to be done once we have the appropriate tools to be able to do it appropriately. You have the tools of awareness and discernment and understanding and all of the other tools that I mentioned, right? Otherwise, you can make it worse. Yes. And I've seen this time and time again. And participants who've come to way of impeccability, I've been in therapy for 15 years. And in one case was about a particular specific issue. We applied the tools to it and it resolved itself in 2 weeks. Directly, immediately. Right? So it's not like there's some magic here. It's just that doing things appropriately, that was the key. And the key to that was, in this particular instance, the behavior of this particular individual changed. Actual behavior in society with people, how they behave, changed. Right? They did things profoundly different and everything changed. Right? Very big deal. Very big deal. Bina, sure. Joseph, Norma, comments. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. And by the way, Chelly joined us on via YouTube, which is great. So that's very cool, Chelly. I'm keen to know if you have any more comments. Yeah, yeah. So this, Chelly, by the way, we're saying addiction of power. This is the psychology of the superiority paradigm. I have a whole big program just on that. I've got a couple of books out on it, and it's a very big deal to understand this. Very important to understand it. Yes, a lot of what I speak about is very positive, but you cannot only have positive. You have to understand the negative also. Otherwise, you become hollow. You become weak. You need to be able to deal with that nonsense and understand it so that it doesn't affect you. And it doesn't affect you when you really understand it. Then that stuff doesn't touch you anymore, right? You see it for what it is. Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. So great that you were here, Charlie. Very cool, very cool. And Bina, any comments?
That was really, really
Oh, it's wonderful.
not, I can say that, okay, complete, but because I also want to know more, but very, very nourishing, very fulfilling. So
Oh
yes,
yeah,
the whole discussion, and of course the
I love it.
connectivity with how the Joseph and Norma and Cher and I don't know the person on
Chelly,
yes, all were interacting. This is very good.
I
And
love it.
Cher, thank you for reminding all the major components of way of impeccability also and
Yeah,
moreness. This is
yeah,
because emphasis again, this is how it is working because when you bring this up, it just gets into the awareness, like a forefront of the consciousness that, oh yes, this is important, this is important, this is important in my life. And what
yeah.
Sil was saying about the algorithm, this is something we are continuously observing. I am very okay. I